Captain Riley Cross stood at the front of the command center on the warship Vanguard, staring at the large screen that displayed the latest transmission. His jaw tightened as he read the message over and over again. The Krevta had spoken, and their demand was clear. Send them the strongest human males or face complete destruction. The Krevta were not a species known for empty threats. They were ancient, brutal, and proud. Their warships had already destroyed 3 minor planets last year, and now they were turning their attention to Earth's outer colonies. The crew on the Vanguard was silent, the weight of the message sinking into every heart. Riley felt a cold chill run down his spine. Humanity had come a long way in space. They had faced monsters, pirates, and the vacuum of nothingness. They had won wars against smarter and stronger enemies, but the Krevta were different. They didn't want peace. They wanted submission. Riley's second-in-command, Lieutenant Kira, approached him quietly, holding a datapad in her hand. Her face looked pale. "There's more," she said, handing him the pad. Riley tapped it and began to read. It was a message, not from the Krevta, but from a mysterious group known as the Zalari, an alien race of all-female beings known across the galaxy for their intelligence, elegance, and power. Their message was calm and polite, but the request inside was beyond strange. They didn't want war, resources, or weapons. They wanted human men. Specifically, they were offering to pay for the chance to have children with human males. They called it an investment. Riley's eyes narrowed. "This has to be a joke," he said under his breath. Kira shook her head. "We verified the source. It's real, and they're serious." Riley kept reading. The Zalari claimed that human DNA, when mixed with theirs, would create the most powerful offspring in the galaxy. Strong, smart, adaptable, and near unstoppable. They believed these hybrid children could shape the future of the galaxy. In return for helping them reproduce, they offered to protect human colonies, share advanced technology, and form a strong alliance. It sounded insane. But Riley couldn't ignore the timing. The Krevta were breathing down their necks, ready to attack. And now this offer arrived like some twisted miracle. Riley turned toward the crew. "What do we know about the Zalari?" he asked. "They're peaceful, advanced, and they don't fight wars," Kira replied. "They have influence in the Galactic Council and control half the trade in this part of space. But they've never asked for anything like this." Riley looked back at the screen. The stars outside felt a little darker than usual. On one side, a deadly enemy ready to destroy them. On the other, a strange but powerful offer that could save them all. He didn't trust the timing, but he knew one thing. Doing nothing would mean death. They had to act. Whether they accepted the Zalari's offer or found another way, they had to make a choice. The fate of humanity might rest on something no one had ever imagined, a deal of bloodlines, love, and survival. Riley didn't know what was coming, but he knew this wasn't just another battle. This was the start of something bigger than war, something that could change the future of the galaxy forever. Riley stood alone in his quarters, the soft hum of the ship's engines behind him, his eyes staring out the window into the endless black. His thoughts raced. The Zalari offer wasn't just strange, it was dangerous, but it also might be the only way to survive what was coming. Hours later, a secure meeting was held in the main war room of Vanguard. Leaders from Earth's top colonies joined through holograms, their faces lit by the glow of the urgent transmission. The room was filled with tension and disbelief. Some laughed, others shouted in anger. One colony leader called it a joke, wrapped in madness, but another said something that silenced everyone. What if this is our only way out? No one wanted to admit it, but the truth was brutal. Humanity couldn't win against the Krevta in a straight war. They were many too fast and too ruthless. The Earth Defense Forces had already lost dozens of ships in earlier encounters. The Zolari's offer could give humans new hope, an alliance with a race that had the technology and power to match the Krevta. But the cost felt too strange to understand. Still, the plan was set into motion. Not every man was chosen. Only a few were selected by the Zolari after deep biological scans and history checks. They didn't just want strength. They wanted courage, intelligence, and resilience. Riley, to his shock, was one of them. He wasn't just a captain. He was now seen as a potential father of the future. Before he could even process it, his ship was guided to a neutral planet called Varela 9, a glowing green and gold world where the meeting with the Zolari would take place. When they arrived, the crew was stunned. The architecture of the Zolari was like nothing they had seen. Towers of crystal, floating gardens, rivers of light flowing through the sky. It was beautiful, yet strange and alien. Riley and the other chosen men were led into the Hall of Union, where they finally met the Zolari leadership. They weren't what he expected. Tall, elegant, with glowing eyes and voices that felt like music and command at once. Their leader, High Matron Valessa, stood at the front, wearing a robe that shimmered like stars. She spoke with calm, steady power. "We do not take this lightly," she said. "You are not tools to us. You are the spark that may ignite the future. Your children will not be slaves or experiments. They will be leaders, warriors, and protectors." Riley could feel her gaze settle on him, like she could see his entire soul. Despite the weight of everything, a part of him felt strangely honored. Then came the moment that changed everything. A loud warning rang across the sky. The Krevta had arrived early. A fleet of over 300 warships tore out of hyperspace near the neutral zone. They hadn't come to talk. They had come to kill. Panic rippled through the Zolari city, but Valessa raised a hand. "Now is the time," she said. "You must decide." Riley turned toward the sky, fire already rising in his chest. "Then let's show them what humanity really is," he said. And just like that, the mission changed. From talks of genetics and alliances to the raw, burning need to survive. The vanguard roared into the sky once more, and the first battle for the future of the galaxy had begun. The sky over Varela 9 turned red as the Krevta fleet broke through the clouds like a swarm of black daggers, casting shadows across the shining towers of the Zolari city. The ground shook as the first wave of plasma blasts hit the outer shields, and alarms wailed across the alien gardens. Riley barked orders as he ran through the halls of Vanguard, strapping on his combat armor while calling for all hands to battle stations. The crew moved with trained precision, though fear danced in their eyes. They had never faced this many enemy ships at once. The Krevta didn't believe in warning shots. They attacked like a pack of wolves, tearing through the sky with growls of engine fire and laser storms. In seconds, the peaceful planet turned into a battlefield. The Vanguard shot up into orbit, joining the handful of human and Zolari ships that had responded fast enough. But they were outnumbered, nearly 5-1. Riley locked onto the lead Krevta cruiser and shouted for full power to the forward cannons. The blast rocked space as a bright beam slammed into the enemy ship, tearing through its shields and sending chunks of metal spinning into the void. One down. Hundreds to go. The Zolari fleet, elegant and glowing, joined the fight in formations that danced like wind. Their ships were faster, sleeker, and moved like living things. But even with all their beauty, the Krevta were stronger, heavier, and filled with bloodlust. Every time a Krevta ship went down, two more seemed to appear. One of the human cruisers exploded beside Vanguard, sending a shockwave through Riley's ship. Sparks flew from the ceiling, and the ship shook violently. Riley gritted his teeth and shouted for damage control. He wasn't going to die today. Not like this. Not with Earth and the colonies depending on them. Down on the surface, the Zalari were fighting in their own way. Their soldiers wore armor that pulsed with energy, using mind-linked weapons and gravity blades. Still, the Krevta were relentless. They crashed drop pods into the ground and poured out like monsters, tall and armored, with claws that cut through steel. In the chaos, one of the chosen human men, Sergeant Leo Maddox, led a ground team of both humans and Zalari defenders. He fought with a kind of fury that inspired even the alien warriors around him. They moved through the burning gardens, protecting key towers where civilians had taken shelter. The air smelled like smoke, plasma, and blood. Leo fought off 3 Krevta alone with just a rifle and a broken blade. A Zalari warrior beside him, Commander Alira, looked at him with awe. "You fight like your soul is on fire," she said between breaths. "Because it is," he replied, bleeding but standing tall. "This is our home too." Back in space, Riley made a desperate call to the Zalari command. "We can't hold them like this," he shouted. "We need to hit their command ship, or this whole planet falls." Valessa's voice came through with calm steel. "We will open the path. You take the shot." A moment later, 3 Zalari dreadnoughts pushed forward in a glowing wedge, drawing fire and parting the Krevta like waves. The Vanguard shot forward through the gap, shields burning, alarms screaming, and Riley's hands steady on the controls. He could see the massive command ship ahead, a black beast covered in cannons and rage. "Arm the core cannon," he ordered. "Charge to maximum." As the power built, Riley took a deep breath. For Earth, for the future. The cannon fired. A beam so bright it outshone the stars. It pierced the Krevta flagship straight through the heart. Silence followed. Then, explosions. The enemy ships, leaderless and broken, scattered into the dark. Cheers erupted across every channel. But this was only one battle. Riley knew the war was just beginning. The battle seemed to pause for a moment, as if the universe itself held its breath. The Krevta fleet had been decimated, but the damage to Varela 9 was immense. Fires burned across the planet's surface, the once glowing gardens now charred and twisted, and the people of the Zalari were mourning the loss of many of their own. Despite the victory, there was no time to celebrate. The Krevta might have been defeated in this fight, but Riley knew it was only temporary. The Krevta were relentless, and this defeat would not keep them down for long. As the Vanguard hovered above the planet, the crew worked to stabilize their systems. Riley stood at the command center, scanning the readouts and trying to plan their next move. The Zalari had lost a great deal too. Their fleet had been nearly wiped out, and their once pristine world was in ruins. But it was Valessa, the High Matron, who stood by his side with an air of quiet determination. "We owe you much, Captain Cross," she said, her voice steady despite the sadness in her eyes. "But this is not over. The Krevta will come again, and they will bring more with them next time." Riley looked at her, his mind racing with the possibilities. "We need to find a way to stop them for good." He paused, a thought forming. What if we went after their homeworld? If we could strike at the heart of their empire, we might cripple them. Valessa looked thoughtful but then shook her head. It's not that simple. The Krevta are scattered across the galaxy with many strongholds. But their homeworld is a place of legends, protected by forces no one has ever breached. To strike at them directly would be suicide. Despite her words, Riley felt something in his chest stir. A deep, burning need to fight back. Then we need to strike at their forces, their leadership. We disrupt their power structure. We take the fight to them before they can come back with reinforcements. Valessa nodded, but her eyes remained filled with doubt. That will take time, resources, and allies, and it will require more than just military might. It will take unity. As if on cue, a transmission came through from Earth Command. The voice on the other end was familiar. General Eleanor Hayes, leader of the Earth Defense Forces. Riley, we're seeing the aftermath of the battle. The Krevta are regrouping and sending out a distress signal. We've detected a massive fleet forming in their home sector. If we don't stop them now, they'll have the strength to invade the entire galaxy. Riley's heart pounded as the weight of the situation sank in. He glanced at Valessa. It's now or never, he said. The Zalari High Matron stood tall, her eyes reflecting a fierce resolve. Then we will unite. We will bring together what remains of our fleets, the humans, and anyone else willing to join us. We must form a united front. The Krevta must understand that we are not to be conquered. The call for unity spread quickly across the galaxy. The Zalari, still recovering from the battle, rallied what ships they could muster. Earth Command dispatched reinforcements, including fresh warships and a new fleet of advanced human fighters. The timing was tight, and the stakes were high. But the galaxy's forces began to rally under the banner of humanity and the Zalari. Riley could feel the tension in the air as the crews prepared for their next mission. The battle they had won had given them a fragile hope, but it was the coming storm that would determine the fate of the galaxy. The only thing they could do now was prepare for the worst. The Vanguard was refueled, the crew was ready, and the plan was set into motion. They would strike at the heart of the Krevta's forces before they could regroup and launch their devastating counterattack. Riley's eyes darkened as he prepared to give the order. We may not have much time, he muttered to himself, but we're not going down without a fight. The next battle would be even fiercer, and this time, humanity wasn't just fighting for survival. They were fighting for the future of the entire galaxy. The Vanguard tore through space, its engines roaring as it led the charge toward the heart of the Krevta's territory. Riley and his crew knew this was the most dangerous mission they had ever faced. The stakes were high, and their chances of success were slim. If they failed, the Krevta would take over everything: Earth, the Zalari, and any other species they encountered. The fleet they had assembled was small but determined. The humans, the Zalari, and a few allied species that had pledged to stand. With them were all part of this desperate push. They moved through the stars as one, a united front that carried the weight of the galaxy on their shoulders. The journey to the Krevta's stronghold took them through an uncharted region of space, where the very fabric of the universe seemed unstable. Strange cosmic anomalies twisted the fabric of reality, and navigating through the area felt like trying to walk through a storm of unrelenting chaos. The crew of Vanguard worked tirelessly, their eyes glued to the sensors and controls. Riley had never seen his crew more focused, their determination shining through every command and action. They were all in this together. As they neared the Krevta's home system, the tension in the air grew thick. The enemy had to know they were coming. The Krevta were smart, cunning, and ruthless. But they had underestimated humanity's will to survive. The Vanguard led the charge into the heart of the system, and the Krevta fleet was already waiting. It was massive, more than anything Riley had ever seen. Hundreds of ships filled the void, with the Krevta flagship standing at the center, a monstrous behemoth of dark metal and glowing red eyes. The battle began in an instant. Laser beams and plasma shots lit up the dark expanse of space as the two fleets clashed. The Krevta fired without hesitation, their weapons relentless, their ships moving like predatory beasts. The human and Zalari forces responded with everything they had, but they were vastly outnumbered. Riley gripped the controls, his knuckles white as he fought to keep Vanguard steady amid the storm of explosions and flashing lights. The Vanguard's shields flickered under the barrage, but the ship held. Riley's voice was steady, but inside, he could feel the pressure building. "Keep pushing forward," he ordered. "We have to get to that flagship." As they neared the Krevta command ship, the enemy fleet seemed to regroup, their formation tightening, cutting off the path forward. The Vanguard was surrounded, and the odds were quickly tipping in the Krevta's favor. Riley's heart raced as he watched the screen. There was no way through without a miracle. Just then, a transmission came through, from Earth Command, breaking through the static. "Riley, we're with you." General Hayes' voice crackled through. "All reinforcements are en route. We're launching every available fighter and warship." Riley's eyes widened. More ships, more fighters. The cavalry was coming. "Hold on, people," Riley shouted. "We're not alone in this fight." As if on cue, the darkness of space erupted with a wave of incoming human and Zalari warships. They poured into the battlefield from all sides, striking at the Krevta fleet with fierce determination. The Krevta ships, though powerful, were caught off guard by the sheer force of the united front. Riley's orders were precise as he guided Vanguard into the heart of the enemy formation. "Target their engines," he said. "We need to disable the flagship." The battle grew more intense. The Vanguard fired its main cannon, a brilliant beam that slammed into the Krevta flagship's outer hull. Sparks flew, and the massive ship began to falter. But the Krevta flagship wasn't done. Yet. It retaliated with a pulse of energy that sent shockwaves through space, knocking out several ships in the human and Zalari fleets. Riley's breath caught in his throat as the Vanguard was rocked by the explosion. The ship was damaged, but they couldn't stop now. Not with everything at stake. "We're almost there," Riley called out to his crew, determination burning in his chest. "Prepare to board. We end this now." With a final, mighty push, the Vanguard broke through the Krevta flagship's outer defenses. The crew readied themselves for the final confrontation. Riley's hand gripped the comms as he gave one last order. "We take the fight to their command. Center! Now!" As the Vanguard breached the Krevta flagship's core, a sense of purpose flooded Riley's mind. This battle was their last chance. Humanity was pushing back against an unstoppable force, and they weren't just fighting for survival anymore. They were fighting for the galaxy's future. The final battle was chaos. As Vanguard breached the Krevta flagship's inner defenses, Riley and his crew stormed through the enemy ship, fighting with everything they had. The Krevta flagship was a fortress, its corridors dark and narrow, filled with alien soldiers and traps designed to kill anyone who dared enter. But Riley's team was determined. Each member of the crew fought with fierce determination, using their skills and training to push deeper into the heart of the enemy ship. Riley led the charge, his mind focused on the task at hand. Find the Krevta leader and end this war. The sound of gunfire echoed through the halls, and explosions rattled the walls as the team fought their way through wave after wave of alien soldiers. Riley's heart pounded as they moved forward, knowing that every step took them closer to the enemy's command center. The Krevta fought back fiercely, their technology and strength making them formidable opponents. But Riley's team was relentless. The humans and Zalari worked together seamlessly, covering each other's backs and pushing forward with a single purpose. They reached the Krevta command center, a massive chamber filled with alien technology and a commanding view of the battle. Outside, the Krevta leader stood at the center, a towering figure of dark armor and glowing eyes. The leader's voice echoed through the room, taunting them. "You think you can defeat us? The Krevta are unstoppable. We are the masters of the galaxy. You are nothing." Riley stood tall, his eyes locked on the Krevta leader. "We're not giving up. This is our home now. We're not going to let you take it." The final showdown began. The battle was fierce, with the Krevta leader using every weapon at their disposal to try and crush the humans and Zalari. But Riley's team had one advantage: their unity. They fought together, each move calculated and precise. With every strike, they weakened the Krevta leader, pushing them back further and further. The battle seemed to stretch on forever, but slowly, Riley and his crew began to gain the upper hand. With one final, coordinated strike, they brought the Krevta leader to their knees. The room fell silent as the leader crumpled, their reign of terror finally coming to an end. Riley stood over the fallen enemy, his chest heaving as he caught his breath. They had done it. The Krevta were defeated. The galaxy had been saved. But the victory came at a cost. Many lives had been lost, including some of the bravest fighters in the human and Zalari fleets. As Riley looked around the room, he saw the faces of those who had made the ultimate sacrifice. He felt a deep sense of loss, but also a sense of pride. They had won, not just because of their strength, but because they had fought together. They had proven that no matter how powerful the enemy, humanity and its allies could rise up and overcome anything. The battle was over, but the work was far from done. Riley and his crew knew that the galaxy was still recovering, still rebuilding from the destruction the Krevta had caused. But they had set an example. They had shown the galaxy that humanity was not just a force to be reckoned with. They were a force for good, capable of defeating even the most terrifying threats. As the crew of Vanguard returned to their ship, their spirits were high, but their hearts heavy with the memories of those they had lost. They had faced impossible odds, but they had triumphed. They had shown the galaxy that, no matter what, humanity would never back down. And in that moment, they knew that the future was theirs to shape. Together. The war was over, but the legacy of humanity's strength, resilience, and unity would echo through the galaxy for generations to come.